is falling down.
When Peggy and I moved into this house, we thought it was just a normal house where people were using some acid, some grass, maybe some speed. We found out there was a lot of shooting up going on. Some people were using heroin to the point that we couldn't trust each other anymore. The work wasn't getting done. We began to lie to each other. So Peggy and I took a stand against hard narcotics. We called a house meeting. And the house members agreed that we wouldn't have any more heroin or methadone in the house. Yet some people found these two drugs just too groovy to give up.
The American home. Narcotics and their relatives, amphetamines and barbiturates, rip apart the fabric of family life at every social and economic level. The tragic aftermath fills hospitals, prisons, and rehabilitation centers across the country. Drug users do not fit within any comfortable grouping. They are young as well as old. They are disadvantaged, but often affluent.
I do the hard narcotics for escape. I do the more interesting drugs, the psychedelic drugs, for learning.
The drug scene in Vietnam is really a strange scene. It's hard to describe. Like, drugs are very prevalent there. They're all over the place. You can get marijuana, you can go out and pick it.
I was a very nervous, uptight, lost little girl. And after I turned on, I may not have found the answer to everything, but at least, you know, it didn't seem of such immediate danger to me.
Heroin is a painkiller. It kills all pain. It kills mental, physical anguish. It kills anxiety. It kills boredom. It produces pleasure just based on the drug itself and nothing else.
Deep in the heart of Kentucky's bluegrass country is the town first and foremost associated with the treatment of narcotic addicts. Since the first prisoner patient was admitted in 1935, the federal hospital at Lexington and its companion at Fort Worth, Texas, have borne the brunt of caring for these little understood and often feared and much maligned American dope addicts. One technique basic to many treatment methods is encouraging addicts to help addicts by working together, playing together, and just being together. Our understanding of the scientific working of drugs, their physical effects on people, what changes they cause in the body, are questions to which we have few precise answers. Patients from the Clinical Research Center volunteer for a variety of tests involving the actual intake of drugs. During the 40s and the 50s, more and more people fell victim not only to heroin, but to a host of synthetics. While long used as a means of temporary escape from the ghetto, marijuana in 1963 became one of the symbols of a youth in revolution. Our criminal statutes became harsher, penalties stiffer. There was virtually no difference in the eyes of the law between selling a deck of heroin on a street corner or selling marijuana.
Why don't you be honest with him?
You boil and you can't even talk calmly. You explode every time you talk. You're all emotion. And you sit there, you're boiling inside. You've been boiling your whole life. And you sit there and say, other people, you got a cop out.
Are you afraid of him?
These are the residents of New York's Daytop Village, a private therapeutic community supported by federal, state, and municipal funds. Some of Daytop's byproducts are surprising and they're exciting. This is the stage of an off-Broadway theater where Daytop residents tell their story behind the footlights to capacity audiences and to critical acclaim.
No.
We estimate, conservatively I think, that every patient that we treat saves the community $40,000 a year in goods that are not stolen, in neighborhoods that are not spoiled, in families that are not abandoned.
As in other valid treatment approaches, ex-addicts who have begun to remake their lives work closely with the residents, helping them through each day, rising on time, reporting to work, relearning the simple day-to-day lifestyle the rest of us take so much for granted.
You may have an argument with your wife. You might go to work in the morning, and all of a sudden, where you used to handle 25 cartons a day, the boss gives you 30 cartons. And this is another excuse. See, this is an excuse to go, like, I got to handle 30 cartons, so I'm going to go out and shoot dope, you know. You can be free from drugs for 5, 6, 7 months, and all of a sudden you want to reward yourself, you know, like, wow, I've been clean now for 6 months, you know. I'm doing great. You know, I'm making money, I got money in the bank, my wife loves me, my kids love me. Let me go out and get high, you know, and this happens. So these are the things you have to be aware of. But the point that I want to bring out is that if you do use, don't be afraid to come by, you know, and tell us.
10 years ago, drug use among the young was concentrated in the ghetto. We thought at that time that eliminating the slums would eliminate that aspect of the drug problem. Well, the answer is not so simple. Drug abuse, including heroin and a wide range of synthetics, has sprung up among the children of upper middle-class families as well.
It's like a fortress to protect this all-white community of 40,000 people who live in one of 3 models of housing of total cultural starvation. It's not a fortress, it's like a prison of uptight, shallow people, and the only food for their brain that they get is television and booze and adultery. And everyone has money. There's no identity in money. You can only say, I have more money or less money, and that's no identity, that's just quantity. The only thing you can do with money is buy mass-produced products. And everyone has mass-produced products. Detroit makes 5 million cars all the same.
The tragedy is that youth, in rejecting our values, too often uses more than rhetoric to express dissatisfaction.
Someone was driving north on Larrabee at an excessive rate of speed of 60 miles an hour. I pulled his car over and asked him to produce his driver's license, and he had none. I immediately arrested him and searched him, and on his person I found a bag of white powder that has since been analyzed by the crime laboratory.
Mr. Stubbins, you hear what your lawyer just said?
Yes, I did.
And do you still know that on this plea of guilty, this court is going to send you from 3 to 7 years in a state penitentiary?
Yes, sir. I do.
It is so ordered.
Another hippie convicted on a narcotic charge. Now, why should we be concerned? Why? Because in a few years, those under 25 will make up 1/2 of our population.
It seems as though the college kids, the middle-class kids in this country, suddenly discovered marijuana in the mid-'60s, the early '60s. And up until that time, marijuana was used almost exclusively by Puerto Ricans and jazz musicians. And, you know, who gave a damn about them? So that we could have all kinds of repressive laws and nobody would bother with these people or even look at the laws. But all at once, Mrs. Murphy's kid from the suburbs who was attending a prominent university gets busted for marijuana. And I can tell you from personal experience, I've had medical students, law students, kids going to scientific institutions on national science grants. I've had all kinds of people who have been arrested for marijuana violations. And when this happens, suddenly our society starts to become aware of a problem, so-called.
The entire question of drugs use is vastly complex, cutting across the boundaries of the law, medicine, and society's attitudes. The source of the problem is a simple flower, a hardy plant, beautiful in their natural habitat as they are dangerous, often lethal when abused by man in his environment. After 60 centuries of abuse, society's attitude is only now beginning to change, beginning to bring enlightenment to our understanding of drugs and why people use them. We are beginning also to realize the fact that there is no single bridge that will return the addict to society. For there are many drug takers, and each takes his journey to nowhere for numerous and complex reasons. Bringing them back home will require many bridges, many different approaches, each designed to reach one segment of the drug-dependent society, where the solutions are found in a maintenance approach, a therapeutic community, a narcotic antagonist, one thing is certain: we must continue to build bridges back into society, as many bridges as possible. Let's call them bridges from no place.